Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today it is our parallel and distributed computing class, lecture number 7. And in this, the topic for this lecture is one of the image processing applications, very popular, very useful application, and that is convolution. This word is extensively used in image filtering, audio filtering, and also in the modern time for the AI, when we talk of deep learning, convolution neural network. So it's one of the very well-known and applicable area, convolution. We will look at the convolution as a 1D convolution and then extend it to 2D convolution. So that's okay. As I mentioned already, it's a very important parallel computation pattern and which is widely used in signal, image, and video processing. Okay, so in case of voice and image, we call, when we use those in communication domain, we call the filtering. We carry out, if we have audio signal and it has some noise, so we filter it. We apply a filter around some bandwidth and then we eliminate the noise. Or if it is a picture or a video, we can carry out by applying a filter either smoothing of the signal values, like if you take the average of the surrounding pixels and you smoothen out the picture and there is something which is not required, that averages out in this case. So sometimes you want to smoothen out the picture. So you apply a filter which has such parameters, coefficients, such that the surrounding areas are smoothened out. There are other situations in which when you want to recognize some objects, the process is opposite, like they are called Gaussian filters, in which you sharpen up the boundaries. In this case, in the first case, you were smoothing out. In this case, you are sharpening up the surrounding. So you have different kind of filters applied for doing different jobs. Okay. So that is the thing which we use there. All right. So first, let's see the mathematically how a convolution process looks like. First, we will look at it from an example. And then we will look at its mathematical expression. That normally makes it easy to understand. Generally, you have seen we have done dot product or MAC, multiply accumulate thing earlier, especially the dot product of two vectors. What's the dot product of two vectors? We take here. If you want to take dot product two vectors, let's say an and AB, these are two vectors of n elements, and we want to take dot products. Here are those vectors. They have elements starting from A0 till an minus 1. And this also A0 to an minus 1. When we want to take the dot product, you multiply the respective elements here. You multiply, like in this case, this vector has A0 here, A0 element, it has B0 here. And then they are A1, A2, etc. and they end up at an minus 1. So this is a vector. This is another vector. It starts from B0, B1, B2, B3 and it ends up at Bn minus 1. That makes a vector of n elements, right? So these are the two vectors. If when you want to take the dot product, what do? We multiply their respective elements. We multiply A0 with B0. Then we multiply A1 with A1, B1, A2 with B2, and in the end, An minus 1 with Bn minus 1. So we multiply the respective elements and then add. That is why this is sometimes also called MAC operation, multiply, accumulate. Normally, digital signal processing people call it MAC in their applications. In place of first vector, they have their samples of their signal. Like in the first case, they have samples of their signal. Here is a signal, and they sample it at different points. And these values at different times they call it xi values, x0, x1, x2, xi values. And they multiply those sample values with the coefficients of filters. So in the second thing is a vector of coefficient of filters. So they call that normally AI. Okay. So xi and AI, and they carry out the summation like this from I0 to In minus 1. If it is a filter which has n-tab, if it is an n-tab filter, here is a signal. They sample the signal at different times and they call it x0, x1, x2, the sample values, signal. Then there are coefficients of the filter, which are AI. So they multiply the sample value with the respective coefficient value at one time. And for a bunch of n-tab filter, they carry out this product and they get an output of the filter, let's say Yj. This is the output. So these were the sample inputs multiplied by the coefficients and accumulated and get the output. That is why these people call the same thing as MAC. They call it MAC, multiply, accumulate. But MAC, as I had earlier also told you people, is very similar as the dot product of two vectors, which we keep doing in all our problems. Here also, this filter A has A0, A1, AI, An minus 1, and B0, B1, B2, etc. You multiply respective elements and you add them. So you express dot product of two vectors as AI, small ai, Bi, taking their product and accumulating these products from I0 to n minus 1. So the dot product of two vectors or a MAC operation in DSP, they are very similar thing. And we already are familiar with it. We already know about them. Now, what is the convolution thing? Convolution is unlike these cases in which we had used the whole bunch over here and whole bunch of vectors here. In this case, we do the same operation as we do in the dot product or we do in the MAC, but with a little difference. And that is, we have a big vector of values. Maybe these are the samples of some data or values of some image pixels. So there is a big set of data which needs to be processed. Let's say this is the data which needs to be processed, either applying a filter on it and convolving it. For applying a filter, you do the convolution. Applying a filter means you do the convolution. And what is applying a filter or convolution? That on a, you use a mask. You use a mask which has certain values stored in that. This size of the mask is, it is another vector, it is another array, but the size of this thing is much smaller than the size of the whole big data. So this may be the whole voice signal, and this may be a filter of this so many coefficient. This is a filter which has to be applied on this voice signal. Voice signal is for much longer duration, and your filter samples or filter coefficients are much smaller. I am taking, let's say the width, I am taking this as an array n, which has small n elements. This is your voice signal. And then I am taking a m, which we call mask or filter, and it has m coefficients or m weights. Sometimes if it is a filter, we call m coefficients. Sometimes in many other applications, we call m weights, small m weights. So n is an input which needs to be processed or filtered or convolved. M is a mask, which is like a stencil of values which will map all this. And then the applying of this mask on all of this signal, we will get the output. Let's say Pn, it's another output vector or an array of n elements. How do we apply this mask or stencil or weights or filter or convolving? We start from one end. We take this. This is like, this is a filter which we will slide on it. It is like sliding window application. So we pick this filter and we put first here in this part. Here is our filter, this filter, which we see here. So we placed it here. There are some values of basic signal or data, which is this n. So these are values here already, our values. Let's say 5, if the filter size was 5. So this were our 5 values of this n array, our data values. We have placed this filter of 5 coefficients, tabs, 1, 2, 3, let's say 4, 3, 4, let's say 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 values filter over it. So this filter also has 5 values. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This also has 5 values. So we will carry out the dot product or weighted sum or MAC only in this area. The actual array was very large, but we placed a filter on it like a window over the data, and we just carry out the dot product in this part, which means we multiply respective elements with each other and add. And whatever is the result of this action, because we had put this mask here, starting at this position, we put the result here. Can you see that this window was placed here and a calculation of dot product was done, and the answer, because the start of the window was at this position, so we carried out this calculation and put the answer here. This is our output array. One sample calculated by taking the dot product of 5 weights which was the size of this filter, or m weights which was the size of this filter. Now this is just one value calculated for the output. Now we will slide this window by one position. We just slide it by, I'm drawing a bigger window, by just one position next. We'll slide it here. Now we had calculated the convolution at this point and placed the answer here. Now we move it by just one position. We again have next 5 values. We have next 5 values in this signal, original signal n. And we now place the same 5 values of this mask or a filter over here. Like previous case, we carry out again the MAC operation or dot product operation between these set of elements, and whatever is the answer of this dot product, we put it in the next position, because now our window was placed starting from this position, so we put the answer there wherever we had put the start point of the window, and we keep sliding this window of filter or weights. One by one, we move to the next position. This window we move to the next position, carry out the same weighted sum and write the result in the output. So it's like a sliding window, sliding on the data, and every time we take the weighted sum and place the result where was the start of the window. At that position, we put the output. So that is how we can apply a filter. We can do the convolution, or we may calculate weighted sum. Weighted sum means if we call these values of the filters as weights, so we multiply these weights to a value and take the sum. So it is weighted sum. Sometimes in networking or communication, we apply this kind of thing and we say running weighted sum, because you are calculating the weighted sum on one place and then it is moving. So running weighted sum, running a weighted sum average, running weighted sum average. This term is used in communication at many times, many places, because we do this kind of action. So now we see how our well-known dot product or MAC is related to convolution or filtering thing on a vector of data. So it is dot product, but we keep taking it on a small part and keep moving it to the next and keep placing the result. If we look at this case of data, this is input, this is mask, which is our weights of our filter or coefficient of a filter which are to be applied. The width of this thing is small m, the size of this is big N. In that case, our one calculation which I showed here, at any time one calculation, this one calculation, ith calculation of output will correspond to input N. At any time we may be located, let's say this window keeps sliding and this window, let's say, comes here. This is our ith position. I am saying this is my ith position. Okay, and I will carry out this weighted sum and place it in the output at the ith position. Here it is. Okay, all right. Now if I am calculating it at ith position, So my data will start from Ni. Okay. But then I will move this for so many positions, and I will slide or calculate weighted sum over all these coefficients of this filter, and I have taken here the width of this filter as small m. I said that earlier, m. So I will start taking the dot product of this n with this mask m and continue till the size of this mask. So I start with Ni, multiply, and this is my index. When I move, this is my k index on this position I. When I move towards right, my indexing is this k. So I keep moving. Let's say in the beginning, I am k0. So I am using Ni element and multiplying it with m0. Okay. Can you see that? Let me um, let me draw this very, just this part here. We are saying here is my n, and its size of data is small n. In this example, I am taking this array of size small n. And at any time, I put a filter here. This is my filter. The filter is called, let's say, mask. I call that mask. And this mask is M, and its width is small m. Size is small m, which means this length of this mask is m. Okay. All right. Now, at any time in this array, I am moving this window at different locations and carrying out this calculation. Suppose I am at position I. This is my starting position of, at any time I am carrying out ith calculation. So I am calculating the convolution at this moment, which is for the n vector at the ith location. So I have to take these weighted sum. If this is a 5-weight filter, I will take this weighted sum. This filter has some values. This filter has some values. It will multiply its coefficient values with the respective things of n. Here are the n values and there are filter values on it. So we would like to multiply them and sum them, dot product. So for taking the dot product at this location, I use an index k. This k will range from this position till this position. Size of this filter is n. It could be 5 or something like, in this example it's 5. So I take first Ni plus k multiplied by mk, where this k varies from 0 to m minus 1, where m minus 1 is the size of this filter or size of this mask, right? So I am taking this dot product that I have expressed it here, that initially k will be 0. So I will use in the mask, this mask m0. This value of mask is m0. I will use m0 with ni and multiply them and add. Then k will become 1. So I will use ni plus 1 element, next element, multiply it with m1 and accumulate. And then k will be 2. So I will multiply ni plus 2 with m2 and add them. So I will take dot product at location I for a filter which has width m. Here is m, from 0 to m minus 1. So that is the activity or calculation I have to do in convolution. And you can see how it is very similar to our dot product thing, except that it keeps sliding over. It keeps sliding. Okay. All right. So, okay, now I show it by simple examples of values. Same thing. You have seen the bigger picture. Now we can see this thing by values. Let's say you want to do a 1D convolution example. And in this case, suppose you have an audio signal samples placed in a vector n. This n is a very big thing. It is maybe much larger. Maybe it's a very big audio signal sample. This is the input which needs to be processed, which needs to be filtered, which needs to be convolved. So this is your input. Here is the input. Input signal. Input. Here is my input signal samples. Input signal. Input signal sample. Here are those input signal samples. Now I have a filter which of size 5. It has 5 coefficients, 5 tab filter. Size of the filter is 5 tab or 5 weights. Now, here is that. We call that in our calculation of convolution mask. So I have a mask of 5 values. Here is a mask of 5 values, a filter of 5 coefficients. Okay. And I will slide this mask over this long array of signal one by one and keep calculating as I told you in the previous slide. So, okay, my filter has some fixed values. These values are fixed. While I was designing this filter, I found that these are the 5 values which should be placed there. This has to do with the design phase of the filter. After designing, you determine that my coefficients should be these or weights should be these. And now I have that design. I will apply this filter on this signal. Maybe after some time there is another signal, maybe n dash, and I will apply it on that. So for one kind of filter, I have one mask with these fixed values. So I have this mask, these values are fixed. Okay, you can see this is mask. It masks values. This is M0, first coefficient, zeroth coefficient, first coefficient, second coefficient, third coefficient, fourth coefficient. So the mask with these 5 values. I have input signal, very large signal, and that I name it N, and it starts from N0, then N1, and N2, N3, N4, N5, N6, and continues. So what I say, first I will place my mask on the first element. This is the pivot point or hinge point or where I am now calculating. So I pick this mask and put my start point of the mask over here in this position, which is the starting point of this signal. So I put the start of this, my hinge or pivot of my mask on location 1, which is N0. I put that here, and here is my filter placed over it. This filter is being placed here, as I said. Okay. So I will multiply the sample values with this filter values, with the filter coefficient. That is convolution. So I carried out the dot product at this moment by multiplying this. 1 with 3, that gets me 3. 2 with 4, I get 8. 3 with 5, I get 15. And similarly 4 with 4, 16, and 5 with 3, 15. So I carry out the dot product at this moment by placing the filter here. So these are the products thing. Then I have to add all of them, sum. I have to take a sum of all these elements. I add them. That is what we do in dot product anyway. And that sum will be placed here. Okay? We multiplied these. We multiplied respective elements. These respective elements till this and got this result. Then we added all of them and we got this result. So by placing this mask at start of this data, placing this mask at n0, we calculated this weighted sum, and that weighted sum was placed in this same position at P0. This is the answer of first when we place this mask over here. And this is the answer, output. One output. You remember in the dot product, if you take dot product of two vectors who have size of 100 element each, the answer will be one integer value, because it is the, after you take the product, you sum to a value and this one value. So there is one value. And now what will you do? After that, you will again take this mask and you will place it now here. First, you have put the mask here, as I said. In the next situation, you will put the mask here. Next. Now I have put the same mask, this mask, in this position. And then I will carry out this product, 2 into 3, 3 into 4, 4 into 5, 5 into 4, and 6 into 3. And then sum all these numbers, and whatever I get, that sum, I will put it here. So can you see? You just keep moving this window of mask over this data, keep taking the dot product or weighted sum and keep writing it into the same corresponding position where your mask was the starting point of your mask. Okay? So in this way, here we are seeing, first we saw calculation of P0 and then I discussed calculation of P1. So you can keep sliding this window till the end of this data and keep placing these calculations in the output. So this is the output of this filter. This is the result after convolving. We have convolved this signal with this filter, and this is the output of the filter or output of the convolution. This is what the convolution is. 1D convolution. It will involve 1D signal, which is an audio signal like this signal. If you sample at different points, it's a 1D signal. These values of these samples put in array are one-dimensional thing, and you apply a mask of one dimension, and it is called 1D convolution example. Once you have seen this in detail, just to elaborate, you might see the next slide and find it very obvious. Here is a calculation of P1, which I mentioned there, that same filter. Now I have put same filter, display filter. I have placed on the next position, slide it, calculations 3 into 2, 6, 3 into 4 is 12, and similarly all these numbers, we sum all these numbers, we take the sum. This, they are all added, and then we put the sum in the next position, because now our filter start has been placed at N1. So result of this calculation will be put in P1. Again, I will slide the filter to the next position. And what will I calculate? If I put the filter here, this filter, and carry out multiplications here, I will calculate P2. Okay, so that is how you can keep sliding this window and keep calculating the output. If my this vector was of, let's say, n elements, this my n array was, suppose, of n elements. So I will I will put this window on each element and carry out this calculation. So I have to keep slide this window n times to n positions and carry out this, calculate this weighted sum at each position and keep placing the result. So for each position, I have a calculation of, let's say this filter is of size 5. I have 5 multiply accumulate actions on each position, right? So if I solve this problem by C, I will have 2 loops. Number 1, outer for loop of I, which will change. I am writing in a pseudocode that will change from 0 to n minus 1, because my actual data size is of n elements. This thing continues till n minus 1. Okay, from n0 to n minus 1. This is n minus 1, the last element of this array. So because I will keep placing window at each location and finding the output, my outer loop will be from 0 to n minus 1. And at each position, I multiply this respective thing. So I will have another for loop. Let's say I use index k for it, k, which will vary from 0 to whatever is the width of this mask. Let's say width of this mask in this case is what it is 5, so from 0 to 4. But let's say if I want to say that generally, this. So from 0 to m minus 1. And then I will multiply this for n with I plus k. This n from at the ith position will keep changing, and I plus k, multiply it with m, which is mask, k, and I will get the result placed in P at position I. Which means at any time I am, say this is position I, suppose I am calculating this Pi. Here I am calculating this Pi. For carrying out this calculation, I will put my mask here. This is the ith position of this I, and I will put my window here, this, and carry out this action. And that location from I keep increasing this index k, internal index. So if my mask is of size m, this will be a very small for loop. Like mask is of size 5. Mask is normally of such size, 3, 5, 7. Normally you take odd values so that it is balanced from both sides. Because sometimes people use center point as pivot point. So generally it's odd number of terms and a small number. So for this C code, my order of complexity for this code will be, what will be the time? N steps into m steps. My order of complexity for this, if it is an array of 1000 elements and this mask was of 5 elements, This mass was of 5 elements, and this array was of size 1000 samples. What will be my time steps? How many? What is the order of complexity? 1000 into 5. 5000 multiply accumulate action will take place. 5000 multiply accumulate will be the steps for my this C code. This is my C code. Now you can see this C code and this this expression. Can you see this now? Here is this expression. You see this, where Ni plus K Mk accumulated an expression from K0 to M minus 1 and putting the result in Pi, and continue this activity for calculating Pi from 0 to N minus 1. This mathematical expression related with this diagram, and then this maths, that mathematical expression and this maths, this algorithm is just one-to-one. This is Ni plus K with multiplied with Mk. And okay, sorry, here we have missed one thing. You must be we should note that. Let's use the rubber. Okay, here is little thing we missed. We are accumulating this product as the case is. So let's correct it. I will. Okay. This is equal with accumulate. We are accumulating this product gets accumulated every time, and then we calculate this Pi. Pi. Okay, I had missed this accumulating thing. So we are multiplying and accumulating. So can you see this behavior of calculating a convolution, which is expressed in this mathematical expression, is this mathematical expression Nik into Mk accumulates from 0 to M minus 1, where this ith calculation is repeated from 0 to N minus 1. This mathematical way, this is equivalent algorithm for it in C code, and this is it's for an example. If N is 1000 and M is 5, N into 5, it is 5000 multiply accumulate action, 5000 MAC calculations, 5000 MAC calculations or dot product calculation. Okay, so this is our convolution thing in one dimension. We have done it in detail. Now we are ready to look at a C code and then CUDA C code for carrying out this calculation. First, because you are very familiar already and you are good at it, you know C code well. So first let's try to do it. I had written there in pseudocode, but pseudocode expresses the difficulty of doing things well. Okay. All right. So instead of pseudocode, same thing which I discussed earlier, now I write in a formal C code. C code is a sequential program in C language, which we are writing. For writing this code, I have used these terms. If you are given the names of your variables, or you have decided the names of your variables at design time, then your program should reflect that choice. So we have made a choice which will be declared. You generally will declare these things in the main part of your code. You will declare those variables, variables or arrays. In our example, as I showed you previous, there is an input array. We call it is a one-dimensional, let's say, image or data. I have given it name image width because we will use the same n when we go to two-dimensional image. So we have started taking it. We are taking one line of an image. It's a one-dimensional data, which we call n as having size of image width. And mask has the size, one-dimensional size of mask width. And of course, the output, because it calculates convolution on each element of this and places in the output. So output size will also be image width. P is also image width. Okay. There is one thing which always keeps coming in this calculation, which I had not discussed that, and that is this ghost self. What is ghost self thing? Okay. Again, going back to this is our n. This is our n array, big array on which we are calculating. And this is our mask, which we are sliding over it. We started from this end. We started from here. We first put the mask here. Then we slide it, slide it, slide it, slide it, continue. So what happens? Towards the end of this array, your mask size is 5. When you are in this position, 5 positions back, your mask will be here. And you will be calculating result for this position and placing in P. Mask was here. But then you have to slide the mask to the next position for calculating your result for this position. Now what happened? You have fallen out of this array n. The array n ends here, n array, and now you have gone in beyond. When you place the mask here, you go beyond this end of this array n. Here, this is something beyond n. So what do we do? There is no number here. The array does not exist. So what do we do? They say that we assume one way. These are the ghost cells. Now actual array is here. There is no value here in the array. So these are the ghost cells. They are called the ghost cells. Okay. So what do we assume in this ghost cell? That is a question. Sometimes people say, assume that there is a 0 there. In this ghost cell, there is a 0. Okay. Then we slide the window further. We slide the window one position. Next, there is a window. Now there, you will need 2 ghost cells. There will be one more ghost cell. And in the worst case, you will be calculating this last element and your window will be placed here. If you were calculating for this position, your window was starting from here and it was a 5 size window. So there will be one value here already inside and there will be 1, 2, 3, 4 values outside. There are 4 values outside in the ghost area. So there are now worst case 4 ghost cells. So if the mask size is 5, worst case, in one case you will have 1 ghost cell, in another calculation you will have 2 ghost cell, in another calculation you have 3 ghost cell, worst case you will have 4 ghost cell. So you will have worst case maybe m minus 1 ghost cell. And we assume there is a, whenever there is a ghost cell, we assume there is a value of 0 in the ghost cell. Sometimes people say, okay, we will assume whatever is the last value of array, it is same value as in the ghost cell. That is one as case people assume, but we will assume that in all these ghost cells, when the window is placed, there is a 0 there. Now what will happen? If there is a 0 there and we carry out this dot product, so wherever is a ghost cell, our mask value will get multiplied by 0 and will become 0. So multiplying with a ghost cell means you will be adding a 0 in your accumulation. So one way is you extend this n array by so many values and place zeros there and carry out this action. And another better way will be that you say whenever you are in a ghost cell area, don't add anything. Do not multiply and accumulate. That is a wiser thing. In that case, you won't have to extend your array n and you won't carry out a multiplication with 0. You will only say don't multiply and accumulate if you are dealing with a ghost. So we will use this approach. Now let's come back to our C code for 1D convolution. Here is that. Here is for this function, the return data type, then there is a 1D convolution function, its name. Then there are n, an array n, which has floating type data, which points to floating type data. There is a pointer m, which points to float type data, pointer p, float type data, mask width, integer, image width, integer. So what we are saying is, this is an input array, this is mask array, this is output array, this is the size of our mask, which is, let's say 5 in this case. This is image width. How big is the array? We have used the word image. It is a one-dimensional image or one line of an image, okay? But we have given them the image width. Now, as I showed in my pseudocode, we will have two for loops. Outer for loop for moving the window over the data one by one. So in this for I from 0 to I less than image width, increasing I, this is my outer loop, which determines where I am at any time, I. In this n, I am in this location I. And this I will change over here from 0 position. And then in the end, it will continue till n minus 1. Or length of this array, which is in this case image width. So it will continue till image width n. So this loop from 0 till image width minus 1 and increasing is sliding the window over this. Then I initialize a constant p value to 0. And then I use the inner loop. The inner loop is for carrying out the dot product of 5 elements of my mask with the 5 elements of n. I use the index k here. Index k is here. This is index k. This is I, and I am sliding. I am calculating this dot product with the index k. The size of this loop should be from 0 to mask width minus 1. This is the size of this loop. And I am calculating this thing. As I said, ni plus k element gets multiplied with mk element and accumulated in my previous value, p value. I had mentioned here, I initialize a variable p value. I'm calculating value for p. I gave it p value as 0, and it's a float type data. I place this dot product result accumulation in p value. So when I run these two loops, I carry out this one calculation at location, then this one increases, I slide the window, I carry out another calculation, keep doing those calculations, and I keep placing those calculations in PI. And such, I keep building PI until the time I run, fill all the PI. So that is my whatever result I get here, p value, I place it in pi. You could put pi here, as I showed in my pseudocode. We could put pi here. Sometimes they say, not they say, it is for the sake of efficiency, it's good that you calculated a variable, temporary variable, which may be a register internally taken by the system, and then you store it into memory. Final result. If you put pi here, at every calculation, you will have access to memory p for updating the result. So it is just for efficiency, but otherwise, from the code correctness point of view, you could write pi here as we did in the pseudocode we showed there. It's our choice. Okay, so we have understood this C code for 1D convolution in detail, and you know this loop is of size n. So our this thing is of size n. I say, oh, okay. This thing is of size n. This is of size n, and this loop is of size, oh, this I'm calling image width as n, and this thing as m, as I said in my example, that is mask width. So mask width is m, image width is n. So my outer loop will run n times, and every time inner loop will run m times. So my total time will be n into m, where n is the size of the data, n is this image, and m is the mask width, this. This is my delay, because I will carry out n into m, multiply, accumulate, computation, if I am doing this program in C. Okay? All right. Now I want to say, if we don't like, sometimes these datas are very huge. This outer for loop is very large. Inner loop is not that large, but outer loop is very large. And sometimes if you are doing that in real time means there is an audio you are speaking, and in real time it is being heard on the other end. One situation is you store a voice, and the storage file is transferred to the other end. This is not real time. The time constraints are not that serious. Another is, here you are speaking in this mic, and real time it is to be heard on the other end. It is to be heard. Now, whatever is the rate of your generation, its processing, convolving it, should be applied, and the data should keep traveling and keep giving the output. In this case, if the data was stored, let's say if this transmission even took few milliseconds or a second or so, you don't mind. But here you mind. Before the next data is to be transmitted, previous data should have been processed. So there are situations when, especially the real time, when the time is very critical, and you cannot afford such sequential way of carrying out this 1D convolution thing, and carry out these 2 for loops, and cannot afford any to m calculations sequentially. So you want to do it much faster. Doing things much faster is always in demand. So you would like that, how do you do faster? We know, it's our favorite. We do it parallel processing. And one way of parallel processing at data level, favorite level, is by GPU and CUDA-C. So we have learned CUDA-C, and now we want same 1D convolution. Instead of doing n into m, multiply, accumulate, we do it much faster. Okay. All right. So we move how we can do it in parallel by using QDASI. Before we move, there is one instruction here I had not discussed just because I didn't want to spoil my flow. This is the instruction which is taking care of this ghost cell problem. When I was running this loop of multiply, accumulate, every time before carrying out this multiply, accumulate, I have this condition that if I plus k is within the image width, what is I plus k? Here is whenever I put a mask, here is I. And when I carry out a computation, I use index k. So my all elements are I plus k. So what I'm saying is at any time, if my data value, when I carry out I plus k action, if it falls out of the range and it gets into the ghost cell zone, I don't carry out this action. I should not carry out this action. So when I say if I plus k is less than image width is this maximum size of this. So if it is within image width, I carry out this calculation. If my I plus k, not I to which I add this index value, if that value gets out of my array n range, then I should not do this calculation. So this is how I take care of ghost cell, this thing. This thing is taking care of ghost cell, this ghost cell ka check. Ghost cell limit. I apply ghost cell. It's taken. Okay, now I'm ready with my complete solution of 1D convolution and carry out this thing with my QDASI in parallel to speed it up. Okay, let's look at that. Here is my kernel code. As I mentioned earlier, generally for each different problem, main computation behavior is expressed in kernel code and our main changes of computation happen in the kernel code. Other part of the code, like host code, just makes the arrangement of the required arrays which are to be used in the kernel code and fills the data, collects the result. So it will have a host code part which you already know, and that will generally provide these n or m and p and send make a place in the device and send the data there and collect the result from it. So you can do host code every time. It is same. Behavior is same. However, kernel code changes for each problem. So we want to look at a kernel code for 1D convolution using QDASI and same notation. We want to use the same notation in this, and that is this. We have an array n of image width. We have a mask of mask width, and we have an output array of image width. And same thing, same rule there, ghost cell, we will assume that ghost cells have value 0. Okay. So it is our kernel code, kernel part. So we have to express this keyword global outside. Okay. Then we, here is the name of kernel. Let me use little. Okay. Global, then return data type, then name of the kernel function, then input and output arrays, then the mask width, then the image width. These are the parameters for header of this function. Okay. You will see, as we always have. Now, I say it is easy. If you know the solution in C code, it's very easy. You can convert it into CUDA C code. What do we do? Generally, you replace some kind of for loops by directly mapping the threads. So in this code, if we look at your C code, it had this big for loop here, very large. A data may be, as I said, of 1,000 elements here. So this for loop runs for 1,000 times it repeats this. We say, okay, we want to parallelize this activity. Instead of calculating it first here, then calculating it next position and then next position, instead of carrying out this calculation one by one, putting this mask at location 0 and then 1 and then 2 and then 3, I would like at each location there should be a thread map. I want a thread mapped on each location to carry out this. So I should eliminate this for loop and put a mapping instruction so that each thread comes and does this job in parallel. That is what we are doing here. Instead of that outer for loop, I have given an instruction for thread mapping. Each thread has its index in terms of a block index and thread index. Each thread will use that value to calculate an I on which element or location this thread should map for carrying out the calculation. So instead of outer for loop, I have this mapping for each position of array n. A thread has arrived and you don't need a for loop. Outer for loop is gone. Okay, now inner for loop. This was the inner for loop. I could carry out this inner for loop also in parallel by mapping another set of arrays to do this job also in parallel. In this example, we said our major challenge was this outer for loop and we want to keep our code simple, and because inner for loop was not very heavy because of the mask width, its size was only 5 or 3 or that kind of thing, while outer for loop was very big. Element array could be, a data array could be of 1,000 or 10,000, 20,000 elements. So we have parallelized this and we have kept this sequential. You can see inner for loop is still there in this code. You can always do that. If you want to, let's say here, we wanted to keep the code same, or we want to focus on parallelizing the outer loop and did not want to spend any threads here, we have done that and you can always do. So what will happen? Each thread maps to a location and carries out one dot product thing of 5 elements. So all the threads are doing a calculation in parallel and all the threads will compute their sum in 5 steps of multiply accumulate. So instead of 10,000 multiplied by 5, it is only 5 steps in this case. In the previous, if this was out 10,000, it will be 10,000 and 5 will be 50,000. In this case, 5 steps. So, okay, that sounds good, parallelism. So we have this inner loop K, which will, like the previous case, each thread will calculate its results and place it from this temporary variable to pi. Ith thread will carry out this calculation and place it in pi. So fantastic. We have done one deconvolution in a very efficient way over here. Okay, now something we extend it. We have already learned in our past lectures. First, we dealt with processes of arrays, and then we learned processes of two-dimensional matrices or images. We did that in our last 2 lectures. We will benefit from that knowledge and extend this 1D convolution thing to 2D convolution. Okay. Here we took one-dimensional array of some kind of voice signal and applied a linear filter on it, one-dimensional filter. There we will have a two-dimensional image. Here we'll have two-dimensional image and apply a 2D filter or 2D mask on it. So here is a example. First we see example, because we have already seen one-dimensional thing. Your image which is to be processed or filtered or convolved is this two-dimensional image. N, this is your input which is to be processed. Here is the mask. In this case, when you have image, your filter is also a two-dimensional thing. Your convolving weighted matrix is also two-dimensional thing. There we had only one linear array of 5 elements. In this case, we have a mask of 5 by 5 elements. So this is the input image. This is the mask which will be used for processing or filtering. And this is the output image where the result will be placed. Output matrix of the image where the result will be placed. So if you see, now the working is very similar to previous. First, you pick this mask, you take this pivot, top pivot position of your mask, and you put it here. We pick this mask and we place this corner of the mask on this position, the red thing. And now we find, and we carry out like the previous case, same matrix level dot product. You have learned matrix level dot product also, which is same, that you multiply respective elements and then accumulate. So in this case, you multiply this one with this one. These values are already known. As I told you, when you are designing this mask or filter, its coefficients have been decided by the designer, whether I want to smoothen out, whether I want to sharpen up the edges, whichever type of filter it is, the coefficients are decided. However, this mask will be placed at different position on this image, and you will carry out the weighted sum or dot product or MAC. Okay, so you place first it here and you carried out this into this, which is 1. Then you carry out 2 into 2, which is 4. Then you say 3 into 3, which is 9. Similarly, let's say I take this 3 into 7, which is 21. So you first multiply respective elements. We sometimes call it element-wise multiply in matrices. Element-wise, only respective elements are multiplied. This is a result of element-wise multiply. Now, if you are taking dot product, you have to add these element-wise numbers, and their sum will be the dot product. And normally for this kind of thing, you will have to use atomic add. We did that for linear arrays. So you will do the same thing. First you carry out element wise multiply and then do the atomic add, and you get this result. If you add all these numbers, you get this and you place this, just one result. The whole thing placed at this location, carrying out all these, if it was 5 into 5, 25 multiply accumulate will give you this one result, just like a filter. Now you will slide this maybe to another position. You slide it right and you place this mask here like this, here, and carry out the same calculation and put the result here. And similarly for each location you do that. Like our previous case issue of ghost cells, whenever this mask is placed on such positions like end positions here, sometimes mask will flow out on these positions. When you are here, your mask will flow out in both, in the right side as well as bottom. So whenever your mask flows out, you have to put a condition that this multiply accumulate action should not take place. That is ghost cell, because you are assuming there are zeros there. Okay, now we have everything for 2D convolution. We have worked out everything for 2D convolution. Let's see. Now, if I, for the writing of the code, I give you enough what will happen in 2D convolution. Number one, compared to your previous code, what will happen? Okay, first, maybe let me explain it here. In 2D convolution, if this n image, this is my image n, which if I have a size of m into n, like it is m in this, my image has this m size and it has this n width. It has m rows and it has n width or column. If it is a matrix, it has m rows and n column. That is my matrix for my image, n, m, n. You write first number of rows and then write number of columns. Okay. My origin is here. My indexes, I will use I for my rows. I will use index j for my columns for pointing to a location where I put my mask. So in this case, I have put my mask here at the ith row and the jth column. When I put my mask here, now I again need two indexes for carrying out this dot product of these. If my mask was a square mask, it had this W rows and W columns, and I choose to use K index here and L index here. I have placed my mask at position Nij, and now I want to carry out this dot product. This will happen. I give the name to this mask as MWW. So for carrying out this calculation on all the locations of these arrays will be the 2D convolution. That will be the 2D convolution calculation. Okay. All right. So at any time I am here, let's say when I'm carrying out this calculation, I may be pointing to this location and multiplying accumulate. So what will happen? For any position like this, you will have, and for the image, outer for loops, two outer for loops indexed by I and j. I ranges from 0 to m minus 1 and j ranges from 0 to n minus 1. So my outer for loops, instead of one, there will be two for loops which will have these two ranges for the processing. Now inner for loop, if I am at Nij, because of the outer for loop I have reached here, now I have to use index k and l in the range w, both w, and carry out this multiply accumulate of this. So this point will be I plus k, and this value will be j plus l. So this point at any time will be I plus k, or the other index will be j plus l, and I will do that for whole this range. Now my expression which I have to implement in my code, mathematical expression will be, you want to multiply n's I plus k indexed element and j plus l. So I plus k, this element, in the n, it will be I plus k, j plus L element. I am choosing from n image, and I will multiply with mask k L value. Mask, because mask has 0 here, so it will be k and L index. So mask k L and n I k or j L. And I will do that because now I am just doing this dot product. So my inner loop, which corresponds to this column, will run for L from 0 to W minus 1, this, and K from 0 to W minus 1. Because I am just carrying out this inner loop for just mass size. So mass size is indexed by L and its size is W into W. So I will have these two summation for those two for loops inside. So I will carry out this calculation and it will give me one value here, Pij. I will get this Pij value. Once I compute this result, I get Pij. One Pij calculated when I put the mask at Nij and carry out this calculation. Here is my result. Okay. And of course, I should calculate this Pij's for I outer loop changing from 0 to m minus 1 and j changes from 0 to n minus 1. Rows and columns, I should cover all of them to get all values of Pij in the output. And every time I carry out this calculation. Very nice. Here is that condition when you get into the ghost cell area. Your I plus j should be less than m. Wherever you put your mask, if your mask gets, say, somewhere here, then I plus k will fall out in this zone. So it should be less than this. If it goes out, you don't calculate. Similarly, when you put your mask here, it will go out in this area and it will go out in this area. So this area, this lower area is that I plus k should be less than m, and that area j plus L should be less than n. So wherever you put the mask to carry out for the ghost cells, this is the condition. So now I have worked out everything for writing a 2D convolution code by modifying this code. This. What I have said over there. Number one, my outer loop will consist of two for loops I and j. Instead of I, now I have two for loops. So there will be I and there will be j. As I discussed in matrix algebra, if it is a two-dimensional thing, I generally use I for the rows and j for the columns. If I use I for the rows, this will be dot y, dot y, dot y. And I use j for the columns. So j will be dot x, dot x, dot x. Because my j is in x-axis and my I is in y-axis. Okay. So those outer loop, instead of one, there will be two for loops, and those two for loops, when I want to map in CUDA-C, I will need these two index calculations. There will be two lines here. Then for this calculation, now my mask is not a linear mask of length mask width. It has a mask width into mask width dimension. So here I will still have two for loops. Even in my CUDA-C code, because I am not parallelizing this part, I will still have two for loops here. One for loop for k and another for loop for L. Now my mask indexes are k and L and dimension are mask width. So this instruction will become two for loops, one indexed by k, another indexed by L. Then this thing, as I said, it will have two indexes, n, I plus k, and second index j plus L. Now n will be pointed by two indexes and m will be pointed by k and second index L. So m will have two indexes, k and L. This will have two indexes, I plus j, I plus k and j plus L. Okay. So now if I multiply that, we will get this p value, which will be placed in Pij. Now again, this is a two-dimensional, it will be placed in Pij. All right. So you know how to modify this code for a two-dimensional convolution. Once you modify this code for a two-dimensional convolution, two important points. Number one, when you write it in two indexes, as I said, you could write it here. As I said, you might write it here. Let's say write it here. Instead of mk, you need here now mk into L. Second index, not into mkl is the element, which I will write here in 2D case. Similarly, this will have two indexes. This will also have two indexes, Pij. It will have two indexes, Pi and j in our 2D convolution. As I said, CUDA-C does not support two indexes. So you have to everywhere in this code convert. There will be something here also, two-dimensional. Convert these one-dimensional things to two-dimensional things. And what is the rule for conversion? Like this, you take M, you say first index multiplied by the width of this matrix. Width of this matrix. What is the width? What is the width of this matrix? It is the mask width. It's the mask width. So you multiply it the mask width. Mask width. Mask width. You multiply with this. Mask width. Okay. All right. Okay. And then add the second index. So now we have converted this two-dimensional thing as a one index, two indexes into one index. CUDA-C has to use this code. So maybe initially you write for your understanding under commands this code, but then you must write it in this way. Only then CUDA-C will run. CUDA-C will not understand this and give an error. Similarly, this one. How would you convert it? P first index multiplied by the width of this matrix, which is image width, image width. Okay. Width of this matrix plus the second index j. So in this case, instead of writing Pij, you will write this. And now your home assignment is, what will be the terms here? How would you convert? Please look at that. Let me know next time or ask a question. What will be here? How it will be converted? So if you put a j thing here with x, this thing with y, and put another for loop here with L, and even this condition will get revised. I plus k should be less than image width, and j plus L should be less than image width. So this thing will also get extended. You have a complete code for 2D convolution. But all we have done in 2D convolution is this. Here are the steps which we did. These steps we have done. These are the steps we have done. Mapping in 2 dimensions. So no loop for matrix N. Then we use the 2D mask. Whatever was written here in step by step, we have discussed and implemented it in detail here. What all is to be modified. So you now have a code for 1D convolution. You have a code how to write 2D convolution. I would like now to you that you run both these codes, especially the 2D thing. You write a 2D convolution using the same mask, run it on your this Google GPU setup which we have given you, and see does it work as we discussed in this lecture. If it does not, ask questions in the next beginning of the next class. Okay, that takes care of our this lecture. Our next lecture will be about the thread and memory hierarchy. Okay, so all the best. Any questions? All right, so we end up our lecture here. Best of luck.